Hi everybody, and a warm welcome to the Ericsson and Telenor Connexion Meetup event here in the studio in Stockholm. And an extra warm welcome to everybody who is joining us online. Welcome. So we have a pretty packed schedule today in which we will be covering a variety of topics and listening to a lot of speakers talk about 5G, IoT, cloud, and all of the opportunities that will be enabled when we work together. And anyway, to our first speaker of the day, we have Johan Harvard, who is the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Enterprise at the Swedish government. Welcome.
You know this already. We're witnessing some really unprecedented development in many core technology areas. So we have a lot of technological development in different areas, and really even seeing the development we're seeing in just one of these areas would be a huge improvement in many industries. Now we're seeing development simultaneously in many different areas. So this is creating huge interaction effects, multiplier effects that really will be able to transform not just businesses but lives in Sweden and internationally. Since these technologies are very complex to implement and to really put forth in your business, there's a lot of complexity now impeding more major implementation steps. We're seeing small implementation steps where you take bits and pieces of these new opportunities and plug them into your business. But more major steps where you really use this technology in larger bits of your company, improving your operations as a whole, interaction with suppliers, etc., that is still very difficult. So, how do we move forward? I would say that as an event here today, my first point here is that the companies in Sweden and globally have to make new friends. We can't just work with the usual suspects, with your usual partners in crime. You have to work across verticals, deep in the horizontal level and on the verticals. Have to find new collaborations across sectors. It's not about technology anymore. The technology is there. Now it's more about organizations, business models, delivering value to the client. And technology is a part of that, it's a prerequisite, but it's not everything. And you have to really put these pieces together and work with your partners. You have to start somewhere. You have to connect your factory with this new technology and try things out. Invite startups and try out cybersecurity solutions in a small scale, in a controlled environment. And then you can take these steps and really find those solutions and take it to the market.
Our two next speakers are going to kind of be following each other. First, we have one of our own, Erik Josefsson, head of, Advanced Industries at Ericsson, and then followed by Dr. Shane Rooney, head of IoT at GSMA.
So we are really on a journey. We are on a journey towards 5G and towards industrial IoT. So going into Industry 4.0 and what is really happening out there in the industrial sites. Feels like it's a boomerang. It started with handcrafted machines and handcrafted tools, and then in 1920 went to full mass production with Ford and Fordism. You could buy whatever car you wanted as long as it's black. And now it's going back again to full flexibility and mass customization. You don't want to buy a car that looks exactly as your friend. And that is the excitement with Industry 4.0. When the OT players, the IT players, and us then coming from communication is merging into one new ecosystem, the industrial IoT gap. People expect that everything will be connected and then that they can do all these cool things. But how do you get that data? And how do you manage this data? Some industry partners that we talk to, they just expect that is magic, it's just going to happen. But how? And that is where we come into the picture. So it is the perfect storm for us at Ericsson, where we sit on wireless cellular communication. We have gone through the journeys of the different Gs throughout 140 years of experience in Ericsson, but it has all been about you and me. The exciting part with 5G, as that steps in, it's not just a new G. It's a combination of multiple technologies. We have the new radio, we have distributed cloud, edge compute, a lot of these buzzwords that you hear out there. We usually define 5G into two main areas in the industrial side. It can be massive and it can be critical. And the exciting thing with 5G is that you can get one network and actually serve both. Massive is where it starts. So you start to want to connect everything. And you might have heard about these technologies called narrowband IoT, Cat-M, that falls into the massive part. We will see, once in a day we said 50 billion connected devices, and it's starting to actually happen now. We see that in our own factories, my colleagues said that it's going to be around 1 sensor per every second square meter now. So we're going to spray our factories with sensors. And how do you make that wired? That is not possible. So you have to become wireless and then be able to meet a longer battery life. So here we're talking around sometimes up to 10 years of battery life. And better coverage, penetrating, which before wasn't possible, but now with the help of narrowband IoT, in, for example, a basement. If you were on the 4th layer down in the basement, we can now penetrate with radio all the way down. So it gives better coverage with massive communication. So on the critical side, and this is usually what people think about when they say 5G, it's going to go ultra fast and it's going to be a lot of data, and that's true. And that is what we can now really cut wires with 5G. If you look at what our researchers has done, and this is very much stressing the network, but in the extreme case, we've gone up to 26 gigabit per second. That's insanely fast. If you compare that to your Wi-Fi back home, which most likely is 100 megabit per second. What can you do with that? And how can that enable new industrial use cases? Now you can cut the cables that before was there and 100% necessary and move more intelligence up in the cloud. Exciting is that you combine multiple different senses. You combine it that I could see in 4K in real time, and I combined that I actually had the voice and could listen to what actually happening in real time, and I had haptic feedback so I could feel what is happening in real time. That type of communication requires extreme big bandwidth and low latency. But you need stable, secure, and simple communication to do so. And you need to have the underlying platforms to support you. So this is a journey moving towards fully wireless. And I thought I will introduce one of my partners, let's say so, from GSMA that is working globally to ensure that wireless communication actually works. So Shane, welcome up on the stage.
In terms of money, you know, we have a new number now, and this comes from McKenna. You know, $1.8 trillion. The IoT industry, our business is going to be worth by 2026. The most important thing for this is that we are, you know, this is going to make up half of the connections as we go forward. Mobile communications is evolving. We don't have to wait for 5G. We have narrowband solutions which are part of the roadmap that will be part of the massive IoT within 5G. It's available now. Customers are actually using it in anger. As you can see from some of the examples that I've shown you, the Internet of Things is happening now. It's not a hype anymore. Industrial IoT will be the biggest opportunity for everyone.
And I want to introduce Martin up to stage, the CTO for Telenor Connexion, and to share a little bit coming from the other angle here. So it's all yours.
Thank you very much. I think all of you recognize the difference between selling a product as a box shifting, maybe adding a service on top. That could be a support agreement, it could be integration services or operational services and such things. I think depending on which vertical you are in, you've been more or less exposed to these type of business models. But if you combine these two, you could actually get even products as a service where you disconnect from box shifting, you sell services with a recurring revenue. And some industries have been better at implementing this as an early stage. I think the IT and software industry were quite early out, where you, with a license-based model, got access to a functionality that were updated over time, and you always got the latest version as long as you paid for the service. If you start to think about this and the different business models coming in play, I think you all recognize that there are a lot of companies these days that come in and disrupt different industries. So that there's two ways of disrupting an industry. Either you know everything about it, or you know nothing about it. Take Rolls-Royce. They were quite early out actually to disrupt their own industry. It was when the airplane industry was a little bit under pressure, and it was hard to get the engines being paid for. They changed the business model into service-based business model, so jet engine as a service, basically. So they started off by connecting their products and gathering different data from the jet engines to understand how they behaved, and thereby also creating a better experience. And in the case of Rolls-Royce, of course, preventive maintenance was a very strong driver. Understanding before a jet engine was about to break or anything like that, being able to do that proactively and predict how we can actually prolong the service intervals of the jet engines. They needed this data. But there were, of course, other drivers, and I think that connecting your product today already has different types of drivers. But to me, this is the low-hanging fruit, so to say. Maybe what is maybe even more interesting, if you want to disrupt your market, is the as a service. And I mentioned already that Rolls-Royce went this way as well. You can maybe understand over time where your customer is moving. I mean, the thing that you once bought may be obsolete after a while, but you can continue to evolve that if you know enough about your customer and have a continuous relationship with that customer. Go on then. First, put strategy in the lead, not technology. And that might sound stupid from a CTO, but I actually stand behind it every day of the week. Unless we know why we want to start this journey, why we want to start an IT journey, connect things and change our business models, we're probably going to fail because it's going to get stuck somewhere. It's important to have a strong vision. Where are we heading? Why are we doing this? Remember? But do I need to do it all at once? No, probably not, because then it might become too big for you to manage this heading. But take small steps, try things out, prototyping, fail fast, pivot. I think that is really important in a journey like this, something different. So plan for scale, but start small, I think is a very important fact, because there may be a straight line depicted here, but usually this journey is not a straight line, it's a very curvy. From there, this is an ongoing journey, not a project, and that is important, and that's why we need management support, good people, and everything that comes with it.